I've been very troubled by a movement that is taking place, and they claim that people are becoming woke to realities of spirituality and realities of faith, whereas it's nothing but deception from the pit of hell. There's this movement that has painted the Christian faith as a big scam that was carved by um, colonial masters to colonize the continent of Africa. And they have postulated that Christianity is not meant for Africans, and we had our own faith that the whites came and replaced with the Christian faith. But I would like to draw your mind to this fact, or to open your eyes to this fact, that the father of our faith, which is Abraham, had a background he came from. The father of Abraham, Terah, and his fathers had their gods they were worshipping. They had their idols they revered and submitted to. There was the gods of the land that reigned in their affairs. Then God, in his sovereignty and in his wisdom, chose a man called Abraham and called him out to begin a new path with him, to manifest his sovereignty, his might, and his power through him. That through Abraham, many will come into the faith and be partakers of the life that is in the faith and enjoy the benefits of the faith, just like Father Abraham had. And so, when Abraham was called out from his father's house and from his father's idol into the new way of life, Abraham had to let go of the faith of his fathers, the idols of his fathers, and now walk in the newness of life that God had called him to and ushered him into. In the same vein, as Africans, we have our background. There are idols that our fathers had and submitted to. There was the way of life they lived, and they put their faith in certain deities and certain entities, and these deities governed the affairs of their life. But God is in his mercy, over the process of time, extended the invitation he gave Abraham, the invitation of being called out, which we call the ecclesia, the church. God extended it to us for us to be partakers of the same faith of Abraham. And in the mind of God, he began with the people of Israel, that through them he was going to extend his governance system to the rest of the world. So God is not only the God of Israel. The Israelites were just the prototype of God's eternal plan. And in the fullness of time, God embarked on the fullness of his program, where he enrolled people from other nations into his governance system. That is how come we have all become partakers of the faith. So it's not a case of we being ignoramus, we being lost and being influenced, being deceived by colonialism and taking that which does not belong to us. I've been seeing a lot of social media promotions trying to promote the faith of our fathers, which is the idol worship. And here in Ghana, and I'm going to mention them because of a recent thing that came out, there is a young man that I've been watching online called Sophie Kojo Benson, who said he used to be a pastor, worked with pastors, served in churches, and is now a fetish priest heading the Mikra movement. And he's promoting the African faith, and in his view, people are getting woke to the true faith Well, that is his belief system. The reason I came out with his name is recently he's been trending the news based on his issue with the Apostle General Sam Korankye Ankrah. I won't go into that. But the point is, I watched a video of his, and he was making claims that the God of Israel is for the Israelites, and he didn't intend there to be any intermediary. So Jesus Christ is a creation of man, and it's a deception, and all that is idolatry, what have you. That is his understanding. But what I want to help our brother understand, I'm not here to attack anybody. He made his points without attacking. I'm also expressing mine without any attack. What I want my brother to understand, and the others that are following him to understand, is that God had a plan. And even humans, when we are doing design, we always have a prototype. So the Israelites were the prototype of God's plan. And over time, God extended the program through Jesus Christ, that through that one man Jesus, all the earth will be reconciled unto him. So Jesus is the plan of God made plain, is the plan of God that has been manifested in the fullness of time. But for those who have embraced idol worship and think is the way to go, and think is the ordained path, listen to what God said through Jeremiah in Jeremiah chapter 10 about idol worship. He says, hear what the Lord says to you, O house of Israel. And this is for the house of Israel, because they were the prototype, and that was the dispensation. God was only dealing with the prototype at that time. And he says, do not learn the ways of the nations. So hear what the Lord says to you, O house of Israel, the prince of God, the ecclesia. And in this dispensation, this is what God is saying to the current ecclesia. Do not learn the ways of the nations, or be terrified by signs in the sky, though the nations are terrified by them. So we see these guys manifesting diverse powers. Sometimes on social media, you see during festivals where fetish priests are showing so much power. Some can set themselves on fire and they'll not be burned. They'll be cutting themselves and all that. They do so many miracles. God is saying, do not be terrified by these signs. Do not learn their ways. For the customs of the peoples are worthless. The customs of the people are worthless. They cut a tree out of the forest. And what? And a craftsman shapes it with his chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails, so it will not totter. Like a scarecrow in a melon patch, their idols cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them. They can do no harm, nor can they do any good. Now listen, there are rich men here in Ghana. In Ghana, you can mention names. Popular one being Mr. Despite. He has some wealth. I don't know his current wealth, but if Forbes is to rank him, I'm sure he will not even come in the list of the first 20 rich men in Africa. But he's rich. If Forbes is to rank him or assess his wealth, he might be a millionaire. He has some level of wealth. But imagine comparing such a person to the likes of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, who are worth in billions, in fact multi of that matter. They are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. So the wealth of somebody like Despite, who is a millionaire, I don't know even if he's a multi-millionaire, assuming he's worth $100 million, What is $100 million compared to somebody who is worth $100 billion? He is going to see Mr. Despite as a wannabe. He's going to see him as a middle class person, although he's wealthy, right? So these idols possesses powers. Undoubtedly, they exhibit some powers. We see them exhibit healing powers in the life of sick people. We see them exhibiting some form of deliverance powers in people who are in some form of bondage. We see them taking off curses of people and bringing them some form of liberty. Yes, they exhibit some form of power. But what is their power compared to the power of God? God is now showing us their true wealth from his perspective, as Bezos or Elon Musk would describe Despite as a middle class person. This is what God is describing them. That they cannot speak. They have mouth, they cannot speak. They cannot walk. And this one is literal. Most times they have to be carried. They cannot walk. And this is what God is saying to the ecclesia, the people he has called out, that do not be afraid of them. Do not fear them. And each time you hear do not fear means there is a reason to be afraid, but don't be moved by that reason. Do not fear them. That's the Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 5. It says, like a scarecrow in a melon patch or in a melon farm, their idols cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them. There's a reason to be afraid of them, but do not fear them. They can do no harm, nor can they do any good. They can do no harm, nor can they do any good. I mentioned earlier on, I shouldn't have been alive. Now, 10th December, 12th December, 15th December of last year, my life came under attack. Fetish priests ganged up and they said they were going to kill me. They did their incantations. They did their projections. They did all they could. But here I am. I'm still alive. I'm still strong. I'm still living. God is saying they can do no harm. That which they projected, that they know that as for this one, nobody can survive it. I have survived it. That which they said that this one would take him out, here I am still breathing and still speaking. They can do no harm. Do not fear them. They can do you no good. They have no good for you. Now listen to what God is saying, and this is my word of caution to everyone that is embracing these so-called woke movements. And my word of caution to my brother, Osofo Kojo Bentil and his followers. Please make time to read Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 11. It says, tell them this. This is what God is saying. Tell them this. Or let me start from verse 10. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 10. Then I add the verse 11. It says, but the Lord is the true God. The Lord is the true God. He is the living God, the eternal King. Is he just the King of the Israelites? No. He is the eternal King, the King of the nations, which he mentioned earlier on in that chapter. He says, when he is angry, the earth, not just Israel, if the God of only Israel, when he's angry, only Israel should tremble. If he's the God of only the Asian part, when he's angry, only the Asian part should tremble. But he says that when he's angry, the earth, the entire earth trembles. The nations, not the nation of Israel, the nations cannot endure his wrath. So in time past, we see God releasing his wrath on the other nations who came against his ecclesia, his people of Israel. He released his wrath and he annihilated them. Why? Because he's the king of the nations. And the verse 11 says, tell them this. Now listen, all that are embracing this so-called woke movement. These gods who did not make the heavens and the earth, what will happen to them? These gods will perish from the earth and from under the heavens. These gods that you have put your trust in, these gods that you are embracing, you claim you are woke, so you are embracing, you are following. Our dear Miss Bell, who once used to be part of a church, but now she says she's woke and she has embraced them. This is what God is saying to you. These gods who did not make the heavens and the earth will perish from the earth and from under the heavens. Verse 12. But God made the earth by his power. He founded the world by his wisdom. He stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he tenders, the waters in the heavens roar. He makes clouds rise from the ends of the earth. He sends lightning with the rain and brings out the wind from his storehouse. The lightning that these gods throw, it belongs to God. The wind that they enchant and send for destruction, it belongs to God. And God is saying that these gods who did not make the earth and did not make the heavens, but have been capitalizing and leveraging on that which God made to show some form of power, to show some form of strength, God is saying they will perish from the earth and from under the heavens. And if they are going to perish, then all of you who follow them, all of you that have embraced them, of a truth, you are going to end where they will end. If I'm living here and you say you are following me to wherever I go, and I go to Accra, you will definitely end in Accra. If I end in Kumasi, you're going to end in Kumasi. So for those who are following these gods, know that as they perish, so will you. As God cuts them off, so will you. The choice is yours. Are you going to embrace someone who is bound for destruction? Someone whose judgment has been passed and awaiting execution? Like a criminal whose judgment has been passed by the law courts and is waiting to embark on the sentence? Or you are going to embrace the one who made the heavens and the earth and receive the life that he came to give? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever will believe in this Son will not perish from the earth, but they will have everlasting life. The Lord bless you, the Lord keep you, the Lord make his face shine upon you, and may God strengthen you that you will not be deceived in these end days. Shalom.